Hello race fans, and once again thanks for being with us at Mountain Motorsports Park in Isom, Kentucky on another beautiful Friday afternoon. Got dirt track racing for you. Several classes going to be on hand, of course, opening up tonight with a 604 crate sponsored by Joe's Chicken. Got the Cooley Medical Limited late models. Foursquare Bombers. Got the Sport Mods sponsored by Victories Dairy Bar. East Kentucky Gravel 4 cylinders. A whole lot more coming up here at Mountain Motorsports Park, Eastern Kentucky's racing destination.
In the heart of Appalachia, in them East Kentucky hills, engines roaring and people screaming, the way we get our weekend thrills. From as far as you can remember, that very first taste of dirt, the seed of speed is planted, never once thinking of getting hurt.
May the 19th, I was 76. I still like racing just good right now as I did the day I started.
Why do you want to be a race car driver?
Because it's really fun.
Well, I guess what first got me into racing was my dad. He was a small engine mechanic for 14 years, and he kind of got our interest into the small engines. You know, we built yard carts and played around in the yard and stuff, and then here recently my brother bought a racing go-kart, and we decided, you know, to have something to do during the pandemic, we would start racing.
I'm a no prep drag racer. Basically, it's you take regular drag racing and you times the danger by about 200. If we're racing it in Isom, Kentucky, they wash the dirt off the track from the dirt races, take 2 semi-truck tires and drag down it, and we race. There's no prep. You pour your own puddle, and you just go.
What type of racing do you do?
Go-karts. It's fast, and it's a race kart. Wage karts, and it's go-karts. It goes really, really fast, and it has a pink steering wheel.
I'm actually drive a dirt late model. I have been since probably about 2012. And it's a fun little race car to drive. You got to drive a lot on the gas, and you know a lot of people don't like asphalt racing because it's all the steering to the left. Well, with the dirt racing, you got to steer to the left and the right. And I've always loved racing ever since I was little. I was a humongous Bill Elliott fan. That's why I'm number 9. You know, I wanted to just carry on that number 9 on my car because I always loved Bill Elliott. I always loved NASCAR when I was little and was growing up, and I always thought to myself, you know, the dream was I would love to drive a race car one day.
Well, I started in 1967. One of my neighbors lived across from me. Brought an old bomber car up to holler one night, and when we went to the racetrack that weekend, he said he had a driver to drive it. I went with him. We went to Martin, Kentucky. They had a racetrack down there before they started this track here. And the guy didn't show up, and he wanted me to drive it. It was an old 58 Ford car. I got in there and drove it and won the race. And my wife, she sat over in the stands and watched me race. When we was going home, my neighbor told her, said, "How'd you like my car?" She said, "Well, your car run real good, but that's the craziest driver I ever seen." It was me, you know. She didn't know I was in there. And that's how I got started. And then when the track started here in '69, I started running the bomber car. And we kept moving up, you know, moved up to when Donnie Taylor leased this track, I started driving the late model car. And been driving that ever since.
At Isom, gates are going to open this coming weekend. They'll open at 7. We'll get there, help take the car off the trailer. We will check everything over, do like a nut and bolt check. Go to the chip draw chip to see who we're racing and right or left lane. After that, they'll run a class called small tire first. Small tire will go up and they lay the rubber down for the stick shift class. That's what me and my buddies race. After that, stick shift, they call stick shift up. We'll pull up to the staging lanes. That's where they hold you like for when you're getting ready to race. And then after that, We're going to go up for the first round. There's this stuff called a traction compound. You pour it while you're doing your burnout. It is the only prep that you're able to use. It just for the launch, so you don't like spin off the launch and you can get a good launch and get out in front of your opponent. Do the burnout. After that, we're all nitrous guys, so we purge our nitrous. It just lets air and stuff out of the nitrous lines. It's kind of intimidating if you're in the other lane. And then we do what's called a flashlight start, where there is no like green light that flashes at a normal race. A guy will turn back and flash the flashlight, and then the pair goes down. And depending on how many cars there is how many rounds there is. Winner, depending on track, will take home a sum of money.
Well, we come down there one time on a Sunday. They had I believe it was a $3,000 race. And we hadn't won many races. And we got rained out on Saturday night, so they run it Sunday evening. I come back on the Sunday evening, qualified on the pole and led every lap of that. Won that race. That's the first big race I ever won. That got me started big time. We took off then, been done it. Then we went to run it down at Prairie County, down there for Lucian Hall. I drove a late model. We won 19 straight races down there. Well, we done real good down there that summer. And I've done real good, sure. I'll win a few and lose a few.
It was 2019. The track is there, but it's no longer a dirt track. Coburn, Virginia, used to be called Lonesome Pine Raceway, and they opened up the dirt track. They actually carried in loads of clay and turned it into a dirt facility. And we went over there to race in their first super late model race. They only had 4 cars, but they had some good cars. Stephen Breeden, I've raced against him, and he's got a killer car, killer race engine and stuff. And they had a hard tire rule because they were going to try to make racing more fair on everybody over there. And not a lot of tracks around here have always stuck to these rules of putting tires on cars that like kind of even out the field. But they done that, and I didn't think I had a shot at winning that race, but we actually half-tracked them. And I don't mean that in no disrespect towards anybody. Steven's a heck of a race car driver, but I did not expect that to happen. That was probably some of the most fun I'd had in a long time, because you're coming around the track. There's nobody motioning you or telling you how far ahead you are, or how far behind the second place guy is. And I was just waiting to see Steven, go under me or something and make it a race for a win. And next thing you know, when we're crossing the checker flag, I could actually see him half track up ahead of me, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're actually going to win this thing, And I just couldn't believe we won that, because, like I said, he's an awesome race car driver. He's got a killer car and a killer motor. And we just went with a little 23-degree, probably 600 horsepower limited late model motor. But yeah, it's probably one of the funnest races I've ever had.
Back when I was little and before I was born, my dad and his friends, they would go and they would race at Isom and Fun Ford Weekend in Bristol, and I just thought that was like the coolest thing you could do.
Some are partial to the drag strip. Others love that circle of dirt. I've been coming home with grit on me since I was just a little squirt. Help from fathers, sons, and daughters, or friends that will always have your back. But you can bet it's a different story once the green flag drops at the track.
A lot of people think that racing is like you see it on TV, like a bunch of $1 million trailers and big fancy race cars, but in reality, racing is thrashing in a garage when you've just got off work all day with your dad and your friends.
It always looked like NASCAR was a sport that, was people that had to have all this money, and you had to know the right people to get into a driver's seat of a race car, or you was never going to be able to drive a car. And dirt racing, I finally, found dirt racing and watched it a little bit as a kid, and realized, there's a place that's really like the homegrown racing talent that everybody kind of has a shot and is on the same level.
I think if we could have a bigger track and a better backing to it, because in take Bristol for instance, that's its main draw is Bristol Motor Speedway. It brings in profit to other places and other businesses like malls and restaurants, and it could just be a great way for this community to grow and to get more people in the area to make more money.
It just really helps the community have something to do and bring in race series from all these other places and stuff that can bring in money, into the economy and help the racetrack put on a big event and stuff.
I feel that the community needs to recognize our motorsports a lot more than what they do. There should be events, for our drivers and stuff where fans or whoever from other regions can come meet our drivers and be introduced to their drivers, and even have drivers from different regions come here to communicate with our drivers about the track and get them in here to start racing.
There's a lot of people that help me, and a lot of the people that sponsor the car. Used to, all we had on the car was family. It was King's Body Shop, it was K&R Rebuild, my cousin John King's business, and you had Vanover's Garage. So there really wasn't, it was more help of sponsorship than it was funds. And then as time went along, some of the sponsorship showed up that had some funds that would help us get started throughout the year, like Napa Auto Parts and Fraser's Farmer Supply and Ace Hardware and Ricky Rose PVA. There's just a lot of people that help when you're in need of some kind of funds to get to the next race or get back to the track for the next weekend. They're always there to help out and get you there when you need it. I really appreciate it from all the help that I get from everybody, because without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do, and I really appreciate it. I love the fans too, going down to the races and racing every weekend. I remember when we would go down there and it wouldn't even be that large of a crowd, and it seems this year there's been some large crowds really coming back into the dirt races down there at Isom, so I appreciate them too.
You got good people that you can race with, and you got people that you can't. One of my favorite fellas I like to race with is Justin King. He's about as good as you can get. So I like racing with him.
I love it because now I get to race with Jack. Jack's beat me, I've beat Jack, and we actually have fun at the races and can talk and have fun, and almost like we're brothers out there racing. A lot of people beat and bang on one another, and we have the utmost respect for one another and, drive each other clean. And we've actually had races this year, probably 2 or 3, that it's been me and him racing for the win.
Racing with the same people my dad raced with and making the same friends that my dad has, and just bonding with my dad. It's the way that me and him bond. When we started out, it was just me and Dad. But, as we went along, we met Randy Vanover, started coming to help me, Eric Hurt, and, this year we've had Casey and Tanner and all kinds of people just starting to show up and pitch in, Mike Bates. And I love it because I don't want everybody to feel like they're not wanted if they don't have nothing to do and they're standing there with their hands in their pockets because somebody else is doing it. But I will gladly take all their help. I appreciate it so much because you never know when something is going to be needed to be done. That right now you might only be changing a tire, but in a minute there could be 50 hands under the car trying to repair something that's really bad, and I just really thank everybody for all the help.
I feel like anybody that's there fits in because it's all a group of people there trying to do the same thing. We're all there for the same purpose.
Whether it's go-karts with restrictors or dirt bikes that really scream, age doesn't matter at all when you're trying to live your dream.
And now coming on to the racetrack, one of Letcher County's own, driving that number 9 late model. Race fans, put your hands together for Justin King. He drives the 22B racing machine. Race fans, we got any Tanner Blair fans here? Make some noise and let him know it. Coming out of turn number 2 in the number 12 race car. That's Casey Blair. This gentleman's dad will make you a sweet deal on a car. He's got several victories here in the Power Wheels and so much more. Race fans, put your hands together for Cooper Brown, driver of the 101.1. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the youngest driver to ever race here at Mountain Motorsports Park. That's Miss Abby Brown. And how about it for the Eastern Kentucky Hall of Famer? The gentleman has raced since the track opened the very first year. He drives the number 77 late model, driving that car sponsored by Molly Dog Racing. Car number 77 is the Eastern Kentucky Hall of Famer, Jackie Fields.